As the gentleman said, we're going to be talking about AI readiness. In particular, we're going to be focusing on how to get your data of sound quality of a trusted state within there. Before we get into the subject matter, we'll just talk briefly about who I am and the company I represent. So I work for a company called Ometis. We are data transformation partners to many organisations. We do data integration, data quality, and data analytics. In particular, we focus on the Qlik platform, so we are a dedicated Qlik partner. We also do some value add-on complementary products like Snowflake and Databricks as our kind of preferred data storage of choice, but we are very much agnostic. For those that might not be used to Qlik or haven't come across Qlik before, they've been around for about 30 years. Historically, they've been focused on analytics, so you might have come across things like Qlik View, Qlik Sense. More recently, over the last kind of 10 years, they've pivoted and defined themselves as transformed themselves into a SaaS company. So now you have Qlik Cloud Analytics, which was built from the ground up, but gives you that kind of Qlik Sense, that kind of modern user interface. At the same time, they've also made a number of acquisitions. Most notably, you've got the likes of Opportunity, which they made about 6-7 years ago. That brought across data integration capabilities, which has then been built into the platform. And then more recently, as early as at the beginning of last year, they also acquired a company called Talend. Talend brings with it not only some crossover data integration capability, but also your cataloging, your glossaries, your data quality and governance piece there. So Qlik is a full end-to-end data platform. They do data integration, data quality, and data analytics, and they've been recognised by Gartner for a number of years in each of those spaces. So you'll see them as leaders in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. Getting back onto the topic, so the promise of generative AI. You only have to look at LinkedIn to realise that we're in the middle of a hype cycle at the moment. Last night I did find a post that had AI on the packet of a toothbrush packet. However, you know how that happens, I don't know. But it's easy to see why. When you've got the likes of McKinsey, who state that trillions of dollars are going to be added annually to the global economy. Harvard Business School also recently did a study that stated by 2035, highly skilled employees will have their productivity improved by as much as 40% as well. What this promise is going to be backed by, or need to be backed by, is the promise of trusted data, quality data. And that's going to require a shift from big data into better data. And that can be described as going up the value chain of the 5 V's. So big data typically entails volume, velocity, variety. That is, data is significant in quantity, it's often accumulated rapidly, and it's of a variety, or comes from a variety of different sources and different formats, whether that be structured, semi-structured, or unstructured data. Better data also incorporates an additional 2 attributes. It covers validity and value. That is, your data is credible. It features the right level of lineage and traceability. It can be refined, packaged and governed into a quality known product, which you can then share and trade across your organisation, or potentially even to third parties. There's once again a rise in the likes of data marketplaces coming to the industry. In addition to this, you've also got an evolving data architecture. You only have to look back to kind of 10 years to see that companies are, even more frequently now, moving their data storage, their data warehouses to the cloud. You've got the likes of AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, all competing to lock you into their ecosystems and compete for your business. That's paved the way for the likes of Snowflake to come in as a specialist in that field. And more recently, you've also got the likes of Databricks leading the way of bringing data lakes to the cloud as well. They're constantly shaping and transforming the convergence of data warehouses and data lakes into what we now know as data lakehouses. But what's clear and what we need to understand is the complexity gap. At the start, you've got your data, And then at the other end, you've got the outcomes that you're looking to seek. What's clear is that, or what we can rely on, is that data is ever increasing in volume and complexity. You have the rise of multiple sources coming into an organisation in different formats. You've also then got the added complexity of how do you govern all of that and keep it secure and stay compliant. All of this is packaged as the definition of data. And although AI will help harness the value of data, lower the barriers of entry to get value out of data and make people more productive or get them the insights that they need, it's going to add, or it's going to accelerate certainly, the need to close this complexity gap. So when you've got data on the left there and the outcomes that you seek on the right, you've got to do stuff in between in order to close that gap. And we categorize this in 5 different items. So you need to be able to bring data together. So that's often described as move it. You need to be able to understand it, trust it, analyze it, and then you need to be able to act on it to achieve those strategic outcomes. If we slot those into this slide here, you can see that if we look in particular to everything to the left of the target, you've got move, transform, trust. This is all about getting your data ready for AI, or getting your data trusted, getting it better. This all involves typically needing to move it to a target of sorts. That target could be on-premise, it could be cloud, it could be your BI solution of choice. We obviously are biased towards Qlik, but you could be onboarding it direct into their analytics catalog. And this is the Qlik difference. We don't care where your data is or where you want it to be. We don't care how you need to use it. We can meet you where you are, take you to where you need to be. We're open, we're agile, and we're agnostic to the vendor. We're not looking to lock you into that. So you can use Qlik as a data fabric if you wish. You can also use it as a point solution and just cherry pick the bits of the platform you need in order to achieve your goals. If we look at this in a bit more detail and go into each of these segments, you've got move. So you need to be able to connect to any source, regardless of type, whether that's an API, ODBC connector, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. You need to be able to connect to that and support wherever the business is going. Often it's not the data team that has the end decision on what solutions that you're using for your CRM or your ERP. You've just got to deal with the consequences of that and the challenges that come around it. You also need to be able to do this at scale across a number of different sources. I read somewhere that enterprise customers often have up to 400 sources within their organization. And you need to be able to do this in real time or as frequent as the business requires in order to get the full value. And not forgetting that data has a shelf life or a half-life. If you're not populating that enough or as often as the business needs, it might not be as valuable when they actually eventually get to it. You also then need to be able to transform it. You need to be able to populate it into whichever target you choose to, whether that be, talk to many people today that have Snowflake or Snowflake on GCP or Google Cloud as well. You then need to be able to be a bit fleet of foot in terms of the architecture. So you don't want to be locked into always doing ETL or always doing ELT. You want to be able to use the right architecture for that particular workload. So you want to be able to choose, right, okay, I need something a bit more real time, so I'm going to use ELT for this particular data pipeline. And you also want to be able to automate this. Companies now, more than ever, are looking to democratize data. That isn't just the end product, but that's also potentially the process of getting that data in a fit shape for the rest of the business as well. You then have trust, and this is probably one of the hottest topics at the moment, particularly around AI, and this is where we can also help as well. Data is something that you need to know where it comes from, where it ends up, what applications it's being utilized in, but you also need to know the changes along the way. And that's not just changes in the data, transformations that have occurred, but also potentially the infrastructure as well. You then have governance, who has access, who doesn't have access, who should have access, and be able to monitor and control that centrally. And then you have quality. This is one of the hottest topics within AI at the moment. Everyone knows the saying, garbage in, garbage out. You need to be able to deploy a trust score crawler across your data lake or data warehouse to automatically load your data assets into an inventory and monitor it for quality, completeness, accuracy, and so forth. You also need data observability, so be able to constantly monitor that over a period of time, see how data is improved in quality, but also have anomaly, if I can say it, detection and spotting those outliers and bringing in human interference, or intervention, sorry, not interference, human intervention as and when needed. So taking those outlier records and putting it in the hands of your data stewards to decide on things like survivorship of those records and how to best approach the cleansing of that as well. Also often overlooked is kind of the last mile of trust. It's the catalogue and the glossary. Your catalogue is a really powerful tool to be able to self-serve and democratize your data. It's the shop front to your data warehouse. You wouldn't manufacture a product to leave it in the warehouse just in storage. You want people to use it, you want people to buy into it. So that's kind of like your Amazon shopping experience. You want to be able to search for it and to render relevant results. Your glossary is your standard terminology. It's what does that product actually represent? What's within inside it? What is it deemed fit for in terms of purpose? Does it verify it meets my needs? That is kind of like the product landing page that you get when you go into, you click on a product on a particular web page. The catalogue and glossary also bridges the gap between the trust and the analytics. So between actually enforcing and defining what trust is and then making sure it's used in the right way and you're surfacing that. So having that kind of trust score crawler or that trust score known to the people that are actually using the data, if you're looking to democratize this across the business, allowing them to see that their data is of lower quality than their peers in different domains helps gamify that whole process as well. People will fight to have the cleanest data. If we just look at that in its entirety, move, transform, trust, and the catalogue and glossary capability, that is essentially everything you need to get AI ready. It sounds very simple when you say it like that, but it's something that you need to be able to do really well in order to be able to populate your large language models or use it for other AI initiatives. And of course, with the Qlik platform, just to tout that a little bit, you want to know that it's got AI augmentation built into the platform as well, to be able to automate the DDL language script generation and other processes with a no-code, low-code interface for doing advanced transformations and so forth. Once you've got the data AI ready, it's of sound quality, that's when you can go ahead and start doing some analytics on it, so you can start using it for your AI initiatives. I'm very biased towards the Qlik platform, in particular on the analytics piece as well as the other pieces, but it's got the ability to explore data with the speed of thought, being able to use natural language to query your data, ask questions of it, and it renders back insights into that using natural language generation, or rendering a visualization to give you the information you need to make a decisive decision. You also need to be able to govern this for self-service as well. So having an interface, a platform where you can allow users to have a play with the data, start shaping that data, visualizing it how they see fit, and giving them the power to potentially build their own dashboards for each of their domains. Equally, you want to be able to embed it, so embedding it within existing applications where meet the users where they naturally reside in the applications that they work with on a day-to-day basis. You also want to be able to make use of AI and ML technology. With Qlik, we've got various third-party connectors to things like OpenAI. We've also got our own baked-in solutions as well, such as Insight Advisor, which gives you that kind of ChatGPT-like experience. You also want to be able to go one step further than just monitoring data and looking at what has happened, but then also look at what could happen, doing predictive analytics, using it for things like customer churn, total lifetime spend, and so forth. Once you've done that, you're then down to the last step. It's all about acting. You need to be able to report on what has happened, be alerted to what needs to happen, automate as much of that process to remove human intervention, and remove repetitive tasks, allow people to be deployed on more high-value applications or use cases. And then you need to be able to collaborate either within a governed environment using notes or within third parties such as Microsoft Teams, Slack, and so forth. Once you meet each of these 5 areas, that's when you're then addressing the outcomes and hitting that target. So who are Qlik and Ometis? We give you the capability to get your data out of your systems, blend it, understand it, transform it, make use of it, and then act on it to meet your AI initiatives or other outcomes that you might have in place. Thank you.